Hey, I wanted to do a quick tutorial to help out those people that are kind of struggling or need a little bit of help. I'm gonna do a quick illustration of one of these objects. I'm just gonna do the pencil. I just made a really quick sketch of a pencil on a piece of sticky note, and I took a picture of it with my phone, and I'm going to open it up in Illustrator and then work off of that sketch. So I'm going to go to File and Open. Here's my sticky note. Okay. And with this, I'm just going to size this down. If I hold Shift, I can scale it down proportionally. I can even see on here that black outline that shows like the edge of my artboard. So this looks like it's okay. I can always change the size of my artboard later though too. Okay, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up one of my swatches. I had this color of pencil that I liked. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing is just kind of blocking out the major forms. The sketch is like a really quick thing. It doesn't have to be, nice. It just has to kind of get you started. I'm gonna get this first shape kind of knocked out. Might make this a little bit skinnier or longer. I'm just using the shape tool. What I want to do now is there's a couple ridges usually on pencils. I'm gonna take this shape and I'm gonna duplicate it. I could do this a few different ways. I could go to Edit and Copy and then paste it and kind of move it. Another way I can do this is by holding Alt and clicking and dragging with the mouse. So I'm going to do that right now. Whenever I hold Alt, you can see a plus sign that appears. So I'm going to hold Alt, click, and I'm going to drag that, kind of move that down a notch. And then I'm going to grab that again while still holding Alt. I'm going to click and drag that. So now I've got three shapes here. They're all the same color, so I can't really distinguish them yet, but I know they're there. One thing I want to do is right click on that top shape, go to Arrange and Send to the back. I'm going to do the same for here. I'm going to send this to the back. And I noticed one problem. I didn't make a new layer to draw on top of, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my pencil layer and stick it on one behind it. So I can do this by going to selecting that drawing that I have, then Edit, Cut. I'm going to make a new layer in my Layers panel, that little page. I'm going to click that. I'm going to drag this layer behind my pencil. And this is kind of the important part. I'm going to paste in place. So I cut it, now I'm going to paste it in place. Whenever you paste in place, it puts it in the exact same spot where you got it from. So I don't have to move anything. Okay, I'm going to lock that down, and I'm going to select this layer. I'm going to start working on that. This is going to be my drawing layer. I can rename that just by double clicking on the name there. I'll rename this as well. Okay. Now I've got these three shapes. I want to change the color of this side to be just a little bit lighter. Nice thing about this is you can see the color that was previously in this spot and then what it'll look like contrast wise there. So that looks good. I'll press OK. I'm going to do the same for this, except I'm going to make this a little bit darker. Okay, the contrast looks good. Okay, so I've got the beginnings of my pencil. Right now it looks like it might be a little too fat, so I'm going to use my selection tool to kind of make that a little bit skinnier. And then I'm going to select this part and move that up. And I can see that white, or the lighter side of this, peeking through since I resized it. So I'm going to take that, right click on it, and then send it to the back again. And then I shouldn't have any problems. Okay. Might actually make it just a little bit skinnier so I can hide it. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Next thing I'm going to do is kind of build out this other side of it. One thing that I may do is I want to make that little metal tab, then the eraser. So I'm going to just highlight all of these with my selection tool, and I'm going to duplicate these as well by holding the Alt button and then moving those. Then I'm going to right click and send these to the back. Looks like there's a little bit of an edge there though. Anyway, we'll fix it here in a minute. First of all, I'm going to get a new kind of metal-y color. So good mid-tone value. Next part, I'm going to click on the other part of that rectangle, and I'm going to color sample that. I can do that by getting my eyedropper tool. And with that part selected, I can eyedrop my mid-tone here, and I'll get that value. I'm going to double click on that value and then raise it up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for that bottom piece. So I'm going to click on it first, and then I'm going to hit my eyedropper tool. I'm going to grab that color, and it's going to automatically fill it in. I'm going to double click on this and then make it a little bit darker. Okay. So far, it's going pretty well. I don't know if I see that edge anymore, so it might be okay. There could be little line things that we get in here, like a dark side, light side, but I think I'm just going to continue on and make like an eraser end. I might just build on this with a regular shape first. I think I'm going to make a new layer though, and I'll kind of build the eraser behind it. So what I did was I made a new layer, and I'm going to take that layer and put it behind the pencil. I'm going to rename this and call this the pencil body. And I call this the eraser. Okay, so I'm going to lock down the pencil body so I don't have to mess with it. And you know what? I'm going to kind of have this hide inside of that part slightly. Okay. And one nice thing about Illustrator is they've got guides that you can kind of follow. I'm going to find like a midpoint here, so then I can curve these edges. Okay, so I'm going to select one of those with my direct selection tools, and up here there is the ability to convert this. Right now it's at a hard angle. I want to convert it to a curve. If you can't see this whole part of your window, you can go to Window and then click on Control, and then it should show up. I'm going to click on it. So right now, if your window looks like this, you can just go to Window and then hit that. Okay, so I'm going to select that anchor. I'm going to hit my Curve tool, or Convert to Curve. I'm going to do the same for this part. Just going to bring that in. I might do the same here, curve that part out. I think I could have done this in an easier way. Okay. So next thing, I don't want to make that a gray eraser. I'll just kind of find that nice pink color. Maybe that's kind of getting closer, probably. Okay. I'm going to get rid of my background because right now it's not really helping me anymore. It's just kind of interfering with my color sense. So that white is kind of helping me see it a little better. I can also see where part of my pencil is staggered by like a pixel. I can adjust those. I'm going to unlock that pencil body. Okay. It's looking a little better. Pencil is kind of looking short. So one thing I'm going to do is my artboard is kind of small. So I'm going to hit my Artboard Tool. And it's in the bottom part of your toolbar. Whenever I do that, it'll give me the option to click and drag parts of my artboard. So I'm going to just kind of make this a little bit more size appropriate. Now that I'm getting kind of closer to being done with it, I can also think about kind of complementary colors that would work with this palette. For me, you know, blue seems like kind of obvious choice, so it's somewhat complementary with that yellowy orange, but then it could also get close to a primary color palette. So first I'm going to kind of pick a good blue, something not too saturated. Now if I want to make it darker, it's a little better. Okay. I could keep playing with that until you get the right color. So one thing is my eraser only has one tone to it. It kind of doesn't work very well like that. So I'm going to continue working on my eraser. I just lock down my other layers. That becomes sort of a natural habit. Okay, I think I'm going to do something kind of fancy with this. We will draw inside of this eraser. It's going to make a mask for it. This is still a little bit more complex, but it's not too bad. If I want to draw inside this, I basically want to be able to make a shadow on the side of this, but I don't want to match it up perfectly with it. So what I'm going to do is first select that eraser, and whenever I do that, I can use these options below here. It's right beneath your fill and stroke. Right now we're in the draw normal mode. I want to go to the draw inside mode. So I'm going to click on that. Once I do that, a little border kind of appears. I'm going to click off of that. And I'm going to get my pen tool out. I'm going to change my color. I already have the color of the eraser, but I want to make it just slightly darker. That looks good. And I'm just going to draw through this, and it will kind of work with it. Okay. So that's just the thing that I made. It's just a very basic mask. And I might want to get a little bit more specific with it. Actually going to add some anchor points. This would be a good time to kind of learn something. So what I can do is highlight on that path, and whenever there's the plus sign there, I can click on it and it'll make a new anchor point. And I'm going to use my direct selection tool and click and drag those. Okay, that's starting to help. I even kind of like that unevenness that happens there. Just as long as it looks intentional rather than kind of a mistake. I think that's kind of the idea. Might be a little bit too overzealous though. And here's another design thing. I don't want it to line up exactly with that edge, or I do. It just depends. Okay, I'm good with that. Okay, next thing I want to do, I'm going to lock down the eraser, and then I'm going to go back to my pencil body. I want to lengthen this, so I'm going to unlock it. I'm going to grab this part of the pencil. I'm just going to drag this part out. Hopefully it doesn't complicate things too much. Dragging out this side to match up with that metal edge that I made. There's like a tiny pixel there. To fix up something like that, I might go back in and use a mask to get rid of that, but I'll do that later in the cleaning up part. It's just kind of a specific area, but good to know. Okay, now I just need to do the kind of pencil tip. I could do this maybe. Could make a rectangle off of that. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to stick this on top of the pencil body. I'm going to build a rectangle here. I guess that's actually not a bad color for it. I don't know if it's darker or not. I can't remember. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to need to make a triangle right here. I'm going to place an anchor point. So that's kind of right in the middle. And then I'm going to click on that anchor. I feel like if I delete it, it'll probably make a triangle. There we go. Oops. Well, I guess I could bring that in. Okay, so there's my point. I just need to make a lead tip on that. You know, maybe I will do another draw inside kind of thing. So I'm going to click on this, draw inside, and click off of it, then pick a graphite color. That looks good. I want to make this kind of look like whenever the pencil is sharpened badly. Okay. And then I need to make a light edge on here because I've got my light kind of at the top. So I'm gonna just pick a lighter value of this. And go back on top of that. And just get a lighter side of the graphite. Now that part's kind of uncomfortably blending into my blue background, so I'm going to double click on that, make it lighter so that it can contrast with it. Okay. Now, I think if I were to polish this up, I might like take some angles off of the pencil there and then kind of work with those, but right now I think I'm okay with where it's at. Maybe I could get some debris, you know, pencil, eraser debris down here. Maybe add in a shadow that's casting. Let's do that really quick. And make a new layer and then stick this behind everything besides that main layer. Wanting to fill this part in. It's weird. Try that. There we go. I don't know why I was acting strange. Okay, I'm just gonna adjust these points. I'm gonna convert that angle there to a curve. Might match the eraser slightly. At the shadows, sometimes people stress over them, but as long as you can get kind of close, it doesn't really matter. Let's make it believable. Alright. It's looking okay. Anyway, one last thing. I want to go over, I kind of like the palette that I've got going on, so I want to save the colors that I have there. So I'm going to do that a few different ways. I'm going to start color picking and then grabbing those colors and placing it inside of a swatch. You can get to your swatches just by going to Window and then clicking on Swatches. My main swatches window is over here, and then this is a side swatches window. So you could bring it over here or here. Just for the sake of ease, I'm going to bring my main swatches and just grab and drag them in here. Okay. There's my second, third. Okay, and I'm going to grab that blue. And then the dark blue, then the main eraser. Maybe I need to unlock it. Okay, I think that might be all of the colors. So anyway, that's how you make a swatch. I'm going to save that because I like that color palette. So what I can do is go to lower left hand corner, then go to save swatches, and I'll just call this pencil. And that's it. If I ever want to pull it back up, I can go to that same lower left hand panel, then user defined, and then I can click on pencil, and then there it is. Anyway, hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing what you have.